Dive into the heart of Cleveland's business community with the Cleveland Burning Podcast. Join me, Kim Kitchen, owner of Burning River Marketing, and Kirk Tietz, owner of Cleveland Custom Coatings, as we explore the untold stories of local business owners. In this engaging series, we focus on the setbacks, accidents, and unexpected turns that pave the way for ultimate success. So just like the Cuyahoga River ignited change in the city, our podcast showcases how adversity can spark innovation and growth. Hear from passionate entrepreneurs who have braved the flames of failure and emerged stronger and more resilient. Get ready for candid conversations and a behind-the-scenes look at the business landscape in Cleveland. What's up, Kirk?
You know, I was actually thinking after we talked about my grandfather dying from the heart attack.
Yeah.
I miss him. I have some pretty fond memories.
Good.
You know, I used to build sandcastles with him all the time.
Okay.
Till my mom would get home from work and take the urn away.
Oh.
She'd always get so mad.
This is bizarre. Okay.
I asked her though. I said, you know, am I going to see Grandpa again when I die? She said, well, not if you're good.
Awesome. Okay. Well, welcome to the Cleveland Burning Podcast, where we dive into stories of local professionals who've braved the flames of adversity and emerged stronger than ever. I'm your host, Kim Kitchen.
And I am Kirk Tietz, and today we're interviewing Jacob Davidson with Davidson Law in Olmsted Township. I know you're gonna introduce him.
I was going to introduce Jake.
I know you are.
All right. Well,
but
go ahead.
I'm glad to have you here. Honestly,
Glad to be here.
he's a great member of the group. I
Yep.
just want to say that before you. Now I'll let you do the honors.
Okay. So one of the things our listeners don't know is that Kirk and I always argue over who is going to be introducing. And it usually depends on how long we've known the person.
Yeah.
And I've known you longer. So
sure.
the way I know Jacob is he joined our BNI chapter back in 2017 as the elder law attorney, I believe.
Yeah.
And then you dropped the chapter in 2018, but that's okay. I also dropped the chapter for like 3 years. And then he came back in 2019, and you've been active member since. It kind of felt like your second time around, you're like a lot more engaged. He was our education planner last year.
Did a great job.
Yeah, right?
you.
I mean, so Kirk knows because Kirk was in the chapter. And for those of you that haven't heard, multiple episodes, we all are in a BNI group, which is Business Networking International. We meet weekly and kind of talk about how we can help each other's businesses. So one of the things Jacob did was, he would come in with these props and he'd like deliver this great education. It was only 2 or 3 minutes, but it was always well thought out, well planned, and it was very entertaining.
And the thing that I loved about it is that he would also incorporate the same prop into his commercial. So I always,
It's impressive.
I appreciate comedy the way I do. That's one of the things you look for is being able to take something and then reincorporate that later, in another part of it. So the connections that you make, and that's great.
Okay, so my favorite one is Batman. I don't know if do you remember, were you there for Batman?
I think so.
I don't
Superpower.
remember. Yes, I don't remember what the educational moment was, but you used these toys of Batman. You had a Spider-Man or whatever, and then you're like, how did Spider-Man get his superpowers? Well, he was bit by a spider, and how did Superman get his superpowers? Well, he was born in some other planet, and how did Batman get his superpowers? Estate planning. It's just amazing, and it's so true, right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit.
Hold on, though.
Okay,
To clarify the toy thing,
Yeah.
he always brought one of his kids' toys as the prop. I just
Right.
want to say that. So it's not
Yeah.
like he just brought toys out of the blue
People
that
aren't
day.
listening and thinking that the estate planning attorney is just playing with toys at home. Yeah, no. So, and that's what Jacob is. For those of you listening, Davidson Law focuses exclusively on estate planning and elder law. So, Jacob, why don't you tell us a little bit more about Davidson Law and how long you've been practicing and
Sure.
about your practice?
Yeah, so I've been practicing law since 2016, and I started out as a solo attorney.
Okay.
And then my practice kind of changed a little bit when I joined another law firm and started practicing elder law. But yeah, I've been doing that in Olmsted Township for a long time now, since 2017. Still practicing there. so doing estate planning, elder law, do a little bit of like business incorporation and some
Okay.
small stuff like that.
So I know we've interviewed people that own painting companies before, and when we ask like, tell us a little bit more about your business, it's like, oh well, we have this size crew, and we've been, we do $20 million a year in business. Like, how does an attorney talk about like their success, their accomplishments?
I guess, knock on wood, I never had any of my estate plans blow up yet. So I guess
Okay.
that would be successful.
So non-explosive estate plans.
Yes.
That's good.
No big lawsuits, no families torn, apart or anything like that. As far as elder law and Medicaid, I've never not been able to get the benefits. So that's
Okay.
always been something
So you're
successful.
batting 100. Wait, what do you bat? 1,000? Batting 1,000. Okay,
but
right?
That doesn't guarantee future results. You gotta
Right.
say that as an
Okay. Yep.
attorney.
Yep. Good
Um,
disclaimer.
But that, and then I've done a little bit, very small bit of appellate law, and I was successfully set some Ohio law, appellate law.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so
So I just want to make sure that we're clear on this, that, here I want to hear about every part of your business. Nothing is excluded. You're free to talk about anything that's coming, anything you're doing, any type of practices that you run. So I'd like to hear the real gamut. Like, is that everything you do? Is there other things that you do as well?
I really try to focus on the estate planning and elder law. So some things within estate planning that people don't think about that I do, do services for my clients. Kids who are turning 18. That's a big portion of now all of a sudden they're an adult and they need a power of attorney because their parents are no longer their guardians.
Okay.
So that's an area. Another area is, special needs trusts. I've been kind of expanding out this past year.
Is that for
taking
special needs people?
Yeah, for special needs kids. So
And that also is when they're adult, or is that also as a child and as an adult?
as both. So
Okay.
A family who wants to set up an estate plan and they have a special needs child, we need to make sure that we have the right type of trust for them.
Okay.
And then also if they are older and they're getting some funds or if they're seeking some government benefits, we want to make sure we have that right type of trust in that situation.
It seems a lot of people, and I think you just take it for granted, like, well, I'm the wife or I'm the husband. So when something happens, it's just automatically going to be mine. And I think a lot of people make that assumption. So is that, from what I've talked to with you, I don't think that's necessarily true. Is that?
No, it's not. Usually the largest asset people have is their house, and unless you have the specific joint and survivorship language, it's not going to go to the spouse cleanly. It's going to end up in probate court. So a lot of my job is to try to avoid probate court, typically avoid guardianship or estate, because that's when you're paying an attorney by the hour. It's messy. It's public. We try to keep families out of that process.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So is there any other, that's so elder, estate planning?
And what's appellate? You said you. I
Well,
don't
it
know
was
what that
just a
is.
particular situation. It was a Medicaid case that we had to take to common pleas.
Okay.
So you don't practice that much area. So I do probate. So I'm in probate court, which is in the
So
old courthouse.
probate is like if I died,
Yeah.
all my stuff, it automatically goes to probate. Even if I have a will and if I've got all my beneficiaries and all that stuff, it like everyone who dies, what do you call them? A decedent? Decedent?
Yeah, you're.
I always say that wrong.
Decedent.
Decedent?
Yeah,
Is that how
decedent.
you say it?
Yeah.
Okay, so the decedent, the dead, they always goes to probate court to like make sure if there is a will, then you make sure it's not contested and all that other stuff, right?
Not necessarily.
Okay, yeah, tell us how it works.
So ideally, when I sit down with my clients, people always want the will. Like the will's the thing that you think of. But to be successful, we don't ever use the will after the person passes away. We never
Okay.
go to court. So, as long as you have, beneficiary designations on your accounts, you can have payable on death on your bank accounts. You can have beneficiary designations on your IRAs. Like the traditional one is your life insurance. Usually it's not just in your own name to your estate. It goes to your kids or whoever it is. So if you set it up, you can have everything transfer cleanly.
So it never goes to.
So you never have to
have to deal
go
with probate.
downtown. You never have to, pay an attorney by the hour or anything like that. And keep it all public. It's not.
Yeah. My mom has been the executor of a couple of estates,
Mm-hmm.
her mother's, and I know when our grandmother passed, there's like 6 kids, and there's 5 still living. So they all had to kind of like it was dispersed, but she had to like sell the car. So I got grandma's car. Her name is Irene. And so like that, but I bought the car for like $6,000, so that got divvied up between the
Yeah,
kids.
getting
The house
everybody
got
else.
sold, that got divvied
Yeah.
up. But for them to even sell the house or list the house, like everybody had to sign off on it or something, or they had to sign off that she was the executor. So it seems like there's really no way to avoid dealing with an attorney when somebody dies. The
Well,
best way
there's-
to avoid it is to make sure you deal with an attorney before you die,
Yeah.
right? And then you'll pay less afterwards.
Yes, typically, 99% of the time, if you see an attorney, an estate planning attorney before you pass away, you can set it up to where you're not paying for an attorney after you pass away.
Right.
That it does go to the people you want it to go to, and it goes, seamlessly, and there's no attorney costs or court fees or creditors. That's another
Right.
thing you got to worry about is creditors coming into the estate and trying to get their piece of the pie, because they get a piece of it, the court gets a piece of it, the attorney gets a piece of it before it actually pays out to your family who you want it to go to.
Yeah. And I would imagine, especially with like multiple marriages and stepkids and things like that, it
Yeah.
can get really messy if you don't have the right paperwork. So that's a whole nother reason.
I know the last thing I want to say is I know that lawyers get like a bad stigma a lot, and people always have a lot to say about that. But I tend to believe just through everything, it doesn't matter what you're going through. If the law is involved, you're better off talking to somebody who's educated
Oh,
in
yeah.
how those things work. Again, I think a lot of people think things in general. So, oh, well, I'm the wife, so I'm just going to get it automatically. Or I'm the kid, so I'm entitled to it.
Yeah.
None of those things actually mean anything when you actually look at the letter of the law. And if you're not having somebody who's advocating for you that understands that process, it could be costly and you could lose everything.
It's true.
Yeah, yeah. It's even as an attorney, I'm not going to, if I get a criminal case against me, I'm not going to represent myself. I'm not, a fool. So I would get
Not a fool?
And so yeah, that, the
That's the
saying
word,
is,
yeah.
any guy that represents himself has a fool for a client.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So even like, so this is sort of random, but I know Aretha Franklin, her estate has taken like almost like a decade because she didn't trust attorneys. So she had
Yeah.
all these like
What's that
wills,
couch
like
cushion thing?
handwritten
Yeah.
wills that were everywhere. And so people are like, no, on this handwritten note, she left me the estate. And then someone's
Yeah.
like, no, on this handwritten note, which was after that handwritten note. So, I mean, that's up to like a judge to figure out. And they're
Yeah.
probably paying a ton in
Oh,
lawyer
huge.
fees for a decade to
fees.
fight over her estate.
yeah, yeah.
Like-
That's and you'd think somebody who's that successful would have gone to an estate planning attorney.
Right.
Like,
She didn't trust. She
not-
didn't trust them.
I guess not.
Yeah. Well, so we know how successful you are and how successful you've been. And the theme of the podcast, hopefully Kirk prepared you, is about failures. So we're
got the email.
hoping we're hoping that at some point, like you've made mistakes or had failures, that you could share with our audience, so that when you're our first attorney that we've interviewed. So there might be an attorney out there that's like, oh, this is just all going to be like one rosy road, and there's not going to be any any roadblocks. So what type of roadblocks have you had to deal with so far?
Yeah. So, like I was saying earlier, after law school, I decided to, hang your own shingle, start your own practice. And in doing so, I knew about the law. I knew how to find out about the law. I knew how to, go do the court process and all that stuff, but I had no idea how to run a business. I had no idea how to go about getting clients. I had no idea how to go about, networking with the business community or getting my name out there with the community. So I ended up doing that for close to a year, really struggling doing that. At the time I wasn't married, I didn't have any kids, so it was okay. But it was to the point where I would park my car and leave it at my office, and I would ride my bike to and from where I lived. So my practice was in Olmsted Township, and then it was about a 5-mile bike ride to Berea where I was renting. And the reason I did that was I only had so much gas in my car. So, yeah. So I had to make sure I had enough gas. So if I had to go down to court, I could make it to court and back, but I didn't want to like drive back and forth from work. So,
That's crazy.
yeah. So I really, stretched it thin there for quite a while where, I was just trying to
Right.
try to pay the bills and
Right.
Yeah. So, um,
Doing your own thing isn't for the faint of heart, not for the weak.
no, it was, yeah, it was a struggle. I mean, I, I had to register my car, and I didn't have the, whatever, how much it cost to do that. Cause I came back from Virginia. So I had to like do it up here.
Yeah.
And, so what I ended up doing was I had a bike rack on the back of my car, and I kept
Yeah.
my bike on there if I did have to drive downtown. So it'd block my expired plates.
That's
Oh
fantastic.
my gosh.
So,
That's a great tip, but
Yeah. but don't take that as legal advice.
so that's insane though. I never really thought about that because you go to law school, you pass the bar, now you're a lawyer. You don't really think about, you hear about like struggling actors and struggling, I mean, you don't think about like a struggling lawyer, but it's
Well,
probably true if you go off
you're-
on your own.
Yeah, if you go off on your own, and I tell other attorneys that, and they say that's really brave, but I think it was just kind of stupid, to be honest with you.
Well,
I
it
thought I
is
could do
brave.
it,
I
but-
mean, so so then what? Then you joined a practice?
Yeah. So then I kind of had to suck it up and join a practice and get a paycheck.
Yep.
And really, so when I went to college, I was coming out of college, my undergrad, right around 2008 when the market crashed. So that kind of set me to go, well, I was on a career path back then. I had fisheries and wildlife sciences degree. So I went and worked out in Utah State University. Then I went out to Massachusetts to work with fisheries observers. And so the market crashed and all these government jobs were kind of drying up. So I really had to make a decision, and it was, well, I'll go back into academia, go back to law school. But in the sense of I wanted to be able to fail or succeed on my own 2 feet. So I didn't
Okay.
want to be part of something to get laid off for not my own, reasons.
Right.
So that's why I ended up going into law, and that's why, when I first, passed the bar and got out, I went to go do it my own thing.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you didn't like start, I know you went to the Ohio State University, and when you did your undergrad, you weren't thinking like you were going to be a lawyer?
Oh, no. I started out, I was strong in like math and sciences. I went to Olmsted Falls High School. And then, so I got into the engineering undergrad at Ohio State. So I did 1 year of engineering. And then I shifted to fisheries and wildlife sciences because I thought it was really fascinating. I liked
much
going
more fun.
outside
Yeah.
and doing stuff rather than being stuck in a computer as an engineer. Yeah, so I pivoted to that, and then I worked interned with EPA and did different jobs in that field. And the job I really wanted, it was only available to about 30 employees in the state. And you had to get your master's if you're going
Okay.
to do anything. So I knew I was going to have to do something after graduation. And then when I was, worried about taking, the test to get into a master's program, that's when I thought I'll do an LSAT too. And
Okay.
See where that can take me.
And that's how you got into law.
Yeah. It was kind of a winding path.
That is.
Yeah.
So is it something you like? I mean, estate planning, is that what you see yourself doing for the rest of eternity?
Yeah, no, I really like the field. I enjoy working with families. I never really thought about it, but I think I've got a bit of a teacher in me, so I like explaining the process to my clients, taking the time to make sure that they understand it, and taking the time to listen to them. And a lot of attorneys I've found in going to different continuing education courses are always trying to teach attorneys how to listen because we're not good listeners. We're good at spotting issues when somebody's talking and then like writing it down and then kind of like,
Stop
well, this is what you
listening.
need, So I like the area that I can help families. It's help families get their estate plan in order and help families, when they're at their most vulnerable and their loved ones are moving out of home because they can't care for them anymore and they need to go get long-term care. I like assisting families and helping them, and I feel good at the end of the day.
Yeah, I was
doing
going
that.
to say it's got to have some kind of personal satisfaction knowing that
does.
whether they even realize how that's affecting them later, that that you're protecting them from some of those potential problems.
Yeah, I feel it's good. And then I've got just enough to where I do, put on the suit and go to court every once in a while, but not enough where I'm a litigator or that's, the high pressure stakes of that.
Do you like that, or is that something that you don't really like doing?
I enjoy it occasionally. In my area, I'm comfortable with it. I've done some stuff outside that area when I was first a solo attorney. I kind of took whatever I could take.
Right, sure,
And
that makes
then,
sense.
yeah, I was very uncomfortable in some of those positions. But
So a little follow up. I'm sorry, but I mean to
No.
interrupt. But a little follow up question on this. So it seems like so the difficulty was just kind of jumping into your own business right away, and struggling like you were and trying to get by, and then you went and got a job. Now I know since then you started your own business again, and you're back on your own. And what do you think you learned, or what changed in you that you think later, I think I can do it this time? And where did you see that failure, and what how did it make you better?
yeah, the failure was really the lack of confidence and a lack of knowledge. There's those two of those. So I was okay in the estate planning. I knew how to do that, but I really wasn't valuing what I was doing. I didn't really know how much I was undercutting myself until I went out in kind of the marketplace and understood how much that
What the
those services
value
are worth. Yeah,
was.
what the value
Sure.
is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then also, I was kind of in a narrow area of law. So then learning that other area of practice, elder law, was hugely, beneficial. So, kind of cut my teeth at that law firm and learned a lot. So then I felt confident enough where I could go and do this on my own.
Right.
But then also the huge aspect, I'm sure you guys have talked about B&I, of now I know how to network. Now I know
Right.
how to get out into the community.
That group definitely gives you an opportunity to stand up, and I didn't even realize how what it was, but I've done now some TV commercials. I've been on New Day Cleveland,
So,
and I didn't even get nervous. But when I first joined BNI, by the time it would get to me, I was like a bundle of nerves. And a lot of people that in the group said I didn't tell.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, it's going, oh, one more person, I'm going to stand up and say something, and,
yeah.
and then I stand up and I just do it and sit down and I, whew, I got through that. But I think by the time the first year was over, when I went down to go to the commercial and everything, it was very open, very easy to just say, have the conversation. Even doing this, I'm not sure if I would have been able to do what we're doing now with this podcast without having the ability to sit and talk to somebody professionally and understand them, listen, hear their story. So
That's a good
it's a
point.
great group. I have one more question though on the law. Did you find a big difference to the book teaching that you got in school to the actual application of the law when you're sitting in the courtroom or whatever? Because that's what I've heard from most of the lawyer people,
Yeah.
friends that I know, is that the actual, say, college 4 years is some book work. You learn the basics, but 4 years in a courtroom would probably teach you more than you ever learned in that classroom.
Yeah, it's a huge difference. When you're learning the law, you're reading a lot of court cases. So you're reading what the judge wrote or what the appellate court wrote or Supreme Court and, their logic and how everything happened. But so much court is, evidentiary. So at the trial court level and kind of learning the rules of evidence, you learn that in law school, but you kind of learn local areas have different laws. How people practice the law is widely different.
Right.
Some people really push it, some people don't. And you got some attorneys scream and yell all the time, some don't. So
Yeah, that's true. That's just true.
yeah.
Well, and so that's interesting because
Blowhards.
I know every state has their own set of laws, right? So you went to law school in Virginia,
Yeah.
and so you didn't. Is there a class where you learn individual states, or does then the state of Ohio require you to get a different license so that you know the state laws, or how do you
Yeah, so-
navigate through that?
So law school is in most states a requirement to sit for the bar.
Okay, the bar is done by the state.
By the
though.
state, yes, statewide.
Okay.
So you have to have an undergraduate degree, and in most states you have to have the 3-year law school degree from accredited university, and then after that, it's really you can go and take the bar exam after you get your character and fitness tested. So they do a background check and things like that to make sure you're not a crook. But
So no, Kirk, you can't be a lawyer.
Jesus Christ. I think I was just tried and convicted without even a trial.
No.
Here. I think,
oh, we
Did you
need some
see
due
that?
process here.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? You got to defend
All
me
right,
here?
all right.
I need
Maybe
a
you
lawyer
can
right
be a
now.
lawyer.
Yeah. But it's all state based, and so most people you take a bar class. So I took a bar
Okay.
class at Cleveland State University, their law school there. They hold that every summer. So I went there, and it's like a weeks long course. So, yeah, what you learn in Virginia, applies to some Virginia law, but a lot of it's just main large concepts, across America and different things like that. But
My parents live in Maine, and I think that's where all their estate planning documents were prepared. But for half the year, they live down in South Carolina, and if they retire down in South Carolina, I feel like some of their estate planning documents maybe need to be like redone, like depending on where your primary residence is, right? Like, I mean, if you move primary residence and that's the state law,
absolutely.
you might need to rewrite your stuff.
Yeah, you should check it with an estate planning attorney in that area to make sure it's good, because every state's different, and I only know Ohio.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I have another question for you.
Yeah.
This is random, and it's very estate planning, I think, specific. So my daughter is going to Italy. So she's going like in 4 days. I just thought about this right now because you're here, and she's coming over to the house today, and I'm bringing her to the airport on like Monday. She'll be in Italy for, I don't know, 4 months or something. I don't have like, I know I need to. It's been on my list of things to do that I keep procrastinating. What's it called? The power of attorney, or like a health power of attorney?
Yeah.
Because if she were like to get into an accident or something, then like the doctor's making the decisions because nobody has a healthcare power of attorney, right?
Yeah.
But if she goes to Italy, like how does it work when she's in another country?
Oh yeah, that's a whole nother.
You're like, I don't know.
It would be good to have something here.
It'll be good.
I think you need an Italian lawyer here.
Right? Well, who knows? Well, she just won't. Hopefully she doesn't do anything stupid, or, anyway, I do need to get one for here. Either way.
How old is she?
20.
And you never did anything stupid when you were 20.
Oh my God. I'm like, never did anything not stupid when I was 20. I'm pretty sure that is what you're supposed to do. Well, do you have any follow-up questions for Mr. Jacob Davidson? Okay.
I've got.
Go ahead.
You have a question?
No, it's a math question.
Oh.
It's for Kirk.
Okay. I like this.
There's 3 types of people in this world, right? Those that are good at math and those that aren't. But go ahead, let's shoot.
Yeah. All right. So a man dies. He's got a will, and he's got $100 million in his name. So 1/5 is left to his first wife, 1/5 to his second wife, 1/5 to his dog, 1/5 to his mistress, and 1/5 to his neighbor. How much do they get, or what do they get? What do all they get?
So that was his first wife, second wife, dog.
Yeah.
Right? I'm trying to keep up.
Yeah,
here.
and mistress.
Mistress.
Yeah. So what do they get?
So there's 4 of them.
Well, they get
That'd be
20,
fit, 'cause it'd be 1/5.
200,000, right?
They get a lawyer.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
That was my Kirk joke.
that's
that is a good one. That is,
I love
yeah,
it.
he's gonna use that. So we usually like to
I'd
leave.
agree too. Get a
Yeah,
lawyer.
What do they
Whichever
get?
one
They
gets
get
the
a
lawyer is
lawyer.
Getting the most.
Yeah, that's true. So we usually like to leave on a note where you can, we just want to find out how we can help you, how our listeners can help you, like if there's anything you're promoting. Tell us a little bit about what we can do for you if anyone's listening.
Yeah, I guess just keep your ears open for anybody who, life changes. So, anybody, has a child, anybody, their kids have grown up, they're retiring. That's a good time to go visit an estate planning attorney.
Now, what about these online documents? Because I know, I feel like there's this sort of like this DIY thing that since the internet has become so prevalent, a lot of people feel like they can just take it. So for example, Rory's putting me on his medical insurance because we're partners, domestic partners or something. So I have to fill out something and get it notarized that it's like a affidavit. And I just literally Googled, this is probably a lawyer's like worst nightmare. Instead of it said there was a list of documents you're supposed to have, and one of them was like a domestic partnership affidavit, and it is just something that says that we live together and we've lived together for more than 6 months. It needs to be notarized. So I feel like some people now they're like, oh, I need a will. Let me just Google free will or free power of attorney or free whatever. So I mean, those are not good, right? I mean,
they can be good or they can be catastrophic. So I mean, it's
that's a big range.
It is what it is. It might not be valid. I've probated wills that aren't any good, and they've
Okay.
gotten them offline. And I've probated wills where it never mattered, and they got it offline. So you're really taking your chances.
Yeah.
You don't know.
So
but
it's a case by case.
Yeah, it's case by case. Typically, they're not going to be good just because they're not reviewing your family situation,
Right.
your assets,
How
your
could
family
they be good?
dynamics. So yeah, I mean, typically they're not going to be okay. But I mean, if somebody really wanted to read the law and figure out how to write a will, I mean, you could. But I don't recommend it. And
Right.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
I mean, as an estate planning attorney, I offer free consultations. So I've reviewed somebody's wills that they've printed off online, and I'll
There
walk
you
through it,
go.
and here's what's good and here's what's bad about it.
Right.
I'll be
And
honest
then
with
this
them.
would be a charge if you wanted me to
Yeah,
prepare a
if it's
will that
for me
I
to do
think
it.
would be more efficient for what you need.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
It's
Cool.
all personalized, whatever they need.
Nice. Do you have a will, Kirk?
No,
No.
I do not.
Do you want? I don't
I'm gonna
either
live
right
forever.
now. I have beneficiaries on my life insurance, but I
you
haven't
go.
done. I mean, I've done that one thing.
Yeah.
So if I get hit by a bus today, like the girls will get some money.
I
But
tried to get life insurance, but I couldn't get it.
really,
Yeah, the guy told me it was like a guy without a car buying car insurance. And he recommended I go get a life first and then come back and see him.
there you go.
Actually, I appreciate talking to you, Jake, because I have a few friends that do law, practice different law. Most of them, are for lawsuits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's really fun to sit and talk to lawyers. I might not be good with law, but I'm really good at arguing. So, I take the appreciation and the art of what they do.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, my quote for today about failure is it's fine to celebrate success, but it is more important to heed the lessons of failure. And that was by Bill Gates. So we love your story. Thank you for sharing failures for us. And we hope our listeners enjoyed it as well. If you enjoyed our episode with Jake, and we hope you did, then please subscribe.
Subscribe or you'll be getting a letter from my lawyer.
That's right. And leave us a review because we're pretty sure the more reviews we have, the more listeners we can even reach. So until next time, remember that every train wreck can be a stepping stone to something extraordinary. And thanks for joining us on the Cleveland Burning Podcast.
Thanks for
Thanks,
coming,
Jake.
Jake.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
See you next time.